The Druze of southern Syria have publicly declared their desire to secede from Syria and be annexed to Israel. Based on topography, this is what the annexation would look like. The IDF has already taken over the DMZ in yellow and moved into some of the Druze towns. A video has been released of the representatives of the Druze villages gathering on the border with Israel saying, "Where is our fate? Israel. We ask to be annexed to the Israeli Golan to preserve our dignity."
ولكن اقل بكثير من الشر اللي جاي علينا، الشر الثاني اللي جاي علينا، الشر اللي جاي علينا ممكن ياخذوا نسواننا يا عمي، ممكن ياخذوا بناتنا، ممكن ياخذوا بيوتنا، فنحن بدنا نحفظ مين اللي بيحفظ لنا كرامتنا، نحن معه. بشار الاسد سلم راح، شو بدنا نحن؟ ما عادش بدنا فنحن اذا بيختار يعني اذا بيسمع حضرته للجميع، الاهالي حضر الكل.
This deceleration comes just days after Netanyahu met with the leader of the Druze community in Israel, who have close kinship ties with the Syrian Druze. Netanyahu emphasized the need for security for the Syrian Druze. From a broader perspective, this would bring Israel's border just 15 miles from Damascus. The Druze live in a mountainous region, so it is conceivable to see their territory as a defensible front line in the face of whatever regime comes to power in Syria. The Druze historically supported Assad and are technically not Muslim. They have good reason to be very afraid of the Islamist rebels taking over Damascus. Annexing to Israel is a drastic measure, and according to them, this is a lesser evil that they would only take if they feared possible genocide. Assad's last few days, lies, and escape. Bashar Assad told almost no one about his intention to flee Syria when he realized his regime was collapsing. He hid his escape from his aides, associates, and even his family. Hours before he fled to Moscow, the president promised, at a meeting at the Defense Ministry attended by about 30 senior military and security officials, that Russian aid was on the way, and called on the forces on the ground to hold out. On Saturday, when he finished work, Assad told his office manager that he was going home, but instead, he went to the airport. He also called his media advisor, Butaina Shaban, and asked her to come to his house to write a speech. When Shaban arrived, she found no one at home. Reuters interviewed 14 sources who were familiar with Assad's final days in power. They describe a dictator seeking outside help to survive in power and secretly fleeing his country when he realized his rule was ending. According to Reuters, Assad did not even inform his younger brother Maher, commander of the army's 4th Division, of his departure. Maher took off by helicopter to Iraq and from there continued to Russia, where Bashar is also allegedly staying with his wife and children. Ihab and Iyad Makhlouf, Assad's maternal cousins, could not escape. When Damascus fell to the rebels, the two tried to flee by car to Lebanon, but were caught in a rebel ambush. They killed Ihab and wounded IED. On Sunday, December 8th, Assad took off from Damascus. The plane he was on turned off its transmitters to disappear from radar. Assad then arrived at the Russian Hmeimim Air Force Base in the coastal city of Latakia and continued to Moscow on a Russian plane. The videos from his palace, which was stormed by rebels and later by civilians who looted valuable items, testify to the speed with which he left his country. There was still food left in the stove, and personal belongings were also left in the palace, including family photos and photos of Assad in his youth. In the days leading up to his escape, as he tried to cling to power and ensure his safety, Russia and Iran, who had provided him with significant assistance in the war, made it clear to him that this time they would not save him. Assad visited Moscow on November 28th, the day after the rebels' surprise attack began. The Kremlin did assist him with airstrikes against the rebels, but Assad requested ground military intervention and refused. Hadi al-Bahra, the head of the exiled Syrian opposition, said Assad did not tell the truth to his aides in Syria. After the trip to Moscow, he told his commanders and aides that the military aid was coming. He lied to them. The message he received from Moscow was negative. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters on Wednesday that Russia had invested a lot of effort to help stabilize the regime in Syria. Still, the war in Ukraine is its top priority. On December 2nd, 4 days after his trip to Moscow, Assad met with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in Damascus. By then, the rebels had already taken control of Aleppo and rapidly captured additional territory. A senior Iranian diplomat told Reuters that Assad appeared distressed at the meeting and admitted that his army was too weak to repel the rebels. Iranian officials noted that Assad never asked Tehran to deploy troops in Syria, however, because he understood that Israel would likely use the move as a pretext to attack Iranian elements in Syria or in Iran itself. After exhausting his options, Assad decided to accept the overthrow of his regime and leave the country, ending a dynasty that began in 1971 when his father, Hafez, came to power. 3 of his associates told Reuters he initially wanted to flee to the United Arab Emirates. Still, the Emirates refused to grant him asylum for fear of a reaction from the international community. Moscow, which did not agree to military intervention, did not want to abandon Assad and granted him asylum. Russia has both granted asylum to the fugitive dictator and worked behind the scenes to ensure he was not harmed on his way out of Syria. According to Reuters, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has led diplomatic efforts to ensure Bashar's safety. He has spoken with officials from Turkey and Qatar, asking them to take advantage of the country's ties to the jihadist organization Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which led the offensive that toppled Assad. Qatar and Turkey have agreed with Hayat Tahrir al-Sham not to make it difficult for the dictator to escape. A Western security source said Lavrov was doing everything he could to ensure that Assad would leave Syria safely. According to Reuters, Moscow was also coordinating with neighboring countries to ensure that the Russian plane carrying Assad would not be attacked as it left Syrian airspace. Mohammed al-Jalali, who was Assad's prime minister and handed over power to the rebel transitional government this week, spoke to him at 10:30 p.m. on Saturday. In our last conversation, I told him how difficult the situation was. I told him that there were a huge number of displaced people who had left Homs towards Latakia, and that there was terror and fear in the streets. He answered me, "We'll see tomorrow." That was the last thing he said to me. Tomorrow, tomorrow. Jalali tried to reach Assad the next day, but there was no answer.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.